Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the start of the stream. Boop, wrong button. We're live! Hope you're all having a fantastic Thursday. We're going back to space today. Star Citizen has got a new patch. It's live, 3.24. Long have we waited? Longer than I think the devs wanted to wait. And from what I've read, it might still need some time in the oven, but it's not going to stop me. Look, new patch is live. I'm looking for an excuse to jump back in, and I found it. But before we do, I want to catch up on some Inside Star Citizen vids, so I'm rolling out the TV substitute teacher style. I want to catch up on what's new in the world of Star Citizen first. So we're going to be watching some TV for a bit before we get into the game, and then we're going to read patch notes, and then we're going to get into the game. Okay? I put it all in the title for you, so you'd know. And then we're only going to get into the game, assuming that the game allows us to get into it. You know what I'm saying? The patch is actually out. No longer on the test server. It is live. A live environment. Had some fun with Hearts of Iron for the last week. Finished our campaign last night. At least I'm going to call it finished. We got to the point of chaos, where everything is just overwhelming. We won our campaign as far as I'm concerned. And had a lot of fun. Being the Pope. Expanding the papal state. How's it going, chatters? I got here as quick as I could, but I had an appointment today. Might look a little different. You guessed it. I stopped for donuts and got some donut holes. And also got an old-fashioned, which is still the best donut. Nobody's made a better donut than the old-fashioned, I'm pretty sure. I like a standard glaze too, but the old-fashioned, like a nice old-fashioned is where it's at. Underestimated. Isn't an old-fashioned a cocktail? It is also that, yes. But if you order an old-fashioned at a donut shop, they won't serve you alcohol unless you're in Las Vegas. Similarly, if you're at a bar and you ask for an old-fashioned, they won't give you a donut. Usually. Unless you're at a donut bar. That's insane. I've never met anyone that actually likes old-fashions. It's because nobody orders them. What are you gonna get when you go to a donut shop? Are you gonna get the one that's got like cinnamon toast crunch on top? It has you know, like some Instagram filter on top of the donut? You're gonna order the like one that grabs your attention. The old-fashioned does not seek your attention. It knows what it is, and it knows that it's powerful and that it's tasty. It doesn't need to try and like put a neon color, like a bright pink icing to try to grab your attention. It's confident. Simplicity is the best, I think. The novelty factor is unnecessary for the basic donuts. The top 3 donuts forever. Listen, I love the fancy donuts as much as the next guy, and I gotta try them out because I want to know what they taste like. They look weird. I gotta try them, but it's number 1 of all time, chocolate with sprinkles. Chocolate icing with sprinkles on a glazed donut. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, the old-fashioned. Number 3, a regular glazed donut. From an actual good donut establishment. It can't be like, we're not talking about Krispy Kreme here. Anyway, how's it going, everybody? We're talking donuts. This is the donut stream. Take that back. Dude, Dunkin' sucks. Seriously, Dunkin' is the McDonald's. Actually, no, it's worse than McDonald's. I would rather have McDonald's. If I wanted a cheeseburger, I would rather have McDonald's than if I wanted a donut to have Dunkin'. It's Applebee's tier, bro. For sure. It's like Chili's tier. No redeeming qualities. I thought you were shitting on Krispy Kreme. Yeah, Krispy Kreme sucks too. I probably mixed them up. I probably said both of them because they're basically the same thing. I think that you're right. I did say two different places because I literally got confused mid-sentence because they both suck. Tim Hortons? Tim Hortons sucks too. Get out of here with you chat. I get that some of you live in the midst of a rural state that doesn't have anything else, okay? That's like people who live in a one-restaurant town and that restaurant is Subway and you think they have good sandwiches, okay? Just because that's all you have doesn't mean that it's good. My local Amish market makes the best donuts. Dude, I have heard that the Amish make the best donuts in the world, so I believe you. You don't happen to live in Pennsylvania, do you? You don't have to answer that. I have heard grand tales of Pennsylvania Amish donuts being the best in the world. Get the burn ointment for chat? Yeah. No, seriously. Any donut from a shop that's not Dunkin' or Krispy Kreme is so much better. Pretty much, yeah. 100%. Accurate. Curious to hear the Voodoo Donuts? I don't think I've had Voodoo Donuts. Horton's is super overrated. Dunkin', Krispy Kreme, I don't even think they're overrated. They're just there, man. You know, listen, there's one reason to get Tim Hortons, Krispy Kreme, or Dunkin'. Only one, and that's you're stuck in an airport and it's open. You know what I mean? That's literally the only time I would ever even consider paying money to one of those places. I will never go out of my way. This stream determines if I play Star Citizen today or wait until the Mythical 4.0. Listen, Star Citizen players are always waiting for the next patch. Even now, I haven't even played the new patch, and I'm already waiting for 4.0. So I see no reason why you shouldn't start your sabbatical right now. Similarly. There's another donut chain that's like pretty popular in California. Chat, what's the famous California donut chain that has a few locations outside of California? It's like Roy's? What is it? Not Roy's. There's actually a place called California Donuts. That's not what I'm thinking of, but that's pretty funny. Randy's. I knew it started with an R and had a Y in it. Randy's is like a famous... That's the one with the giant donut on top. You know, you've seen Randy's even if you don't know what I'm talking about. It's like the famous one. The like is this the Iron Man donuts? Like Iron Man 2? This guy right here. When he's like sitting on top of the donut. Or like in the donut or something. Anyway, they have pretty good donut holes. The rest of it's kind of meh. They're a little overhyped too. Their regular donuts are kind of They're fine. I'd put them a tier above Krispy Kreme or Dunkin' for sure. But their donut holes are pretty good. Omnium Gatherum, thanks for the Space 67-month sub. How's it going, dude? Appreciate you joining the stream. Estifer also for over half a year. Hello, Estifer. And Falcris, thanks for the first sub of the day. 61 months is a long time. Over 5 years now. Crazy. Okay, Chad, we got a lot of video to watch today. Okay, I gotta catch up. We're gonna, I am interested in this, and I actually waited for you guys, okay? Even if you're not interested in this. I didn't watch it on my own. I have not watched Inside Star Citizen in 4 weeks, I think. So we've got a new one released today. So we have, I'm not joking, 5 Star Citizen episodes to check out. All the way back from 4 weeks ago. August 1st. So this is going to be a content react for a bit. Because I don't know what's going on in the world of Star Citizen, and I want to find out what's coming up. They might even talk about what we can do today. But I really love the Inside Star Citizen videos. Jared, the host, is awesome. The editing's great. They put a lot of love into each one. And you can also see the progression here too. Now this is pretty funny. Watch this. What screen are we going to use here? Not that one. I'll tell you that. Probably leave that one alone. Let's just move this guy over here. I'll just be chilling down here somewhere. Okay, look at this, see? Jared? Haircut, Jared! Me too, bro! Not Jared, that's not Jared. Jared, you've changed, man. Just got Out of the Park 25 today. Thanks for streaming it a while back. Yeah, I heard Out of the Park is on sale. I heard that, is it 50% off right now? It's stupid that you can't search OOTP on Steam to find it. Yeah, Out of the Park is 50% off, $25. So if you wanted to check it out from the previous streams, but you didn't get around to buying it, now you can save $25. Not sponsored, it's just a great game that we poured like over 150 stream hours into real fast. Real fast. So hope you enjoy it. Daryl sleeps here. I missed the hour-long road trips on Hurston. They were more than an hour, let me tell you. Far more than an hour. All right, let's get started. We got some content to watch, starting with the first one that I missed from 4 weeks ago.
By this point, it's pretty safe to say that all of you watching now know that Pyro is the next star system upcoming to the Star Citizen Persistent Universe in the upcoming Alpha 4.0.
You might not know that, chat, because he doesn't know that the people watching this, watching this, might not know anything about Star Citizen. But anyway, as he pointed out, there's currently in Star Citizen, there's one star system right now, Stanton. And then when they do 4.0, there will be a second star system.
And 2 weeks ago, we started ISC's journey through the jump point to get there. And it's a good one. You should check it out if you haven't already. But what is there actually to do in the Pyro system once we get there? It's not all just pandemonium and chaos. To start, nearly every mission type and every gameplay system we've developed for Stanton works there as well. That means a life of cargo, salvage, mining, bounty hunting missions, and more are already ready to go due to their systemic development. But that's just the head start. There are also a number of new mission types, gameplay systems, and wholly unique experiences that arrive with Pyro and Alpha 4.0. And we'll be spending the next several weeks discussing them, starting this week with what we do in space.
ISC team, please move the fill light a little bit up, a little bit over.
With what we do in space, where we're talking about a new kind of space station built with the more efficient level design lessons learned in Stanton. A brand new, ongoing, never stopping, never quitting contested zone system that'll reward you more and more the longer you can hold it. And a sneak peek at asteroid bases that'll require both ship and FPS combat combined to overcome and explore for its rewards. Let's find out more.
Let's find out more. No! No, I have to play Total Battle Strategy Spiel! Spiellos! No, get the ×2, you absolute imbecile! They make these for babies? Ouch. What? Okay, that looks sick. So this is not concept art. This is like in-game of the space stations in Pyro. This is like you fly in here and you got like the giant ruin section of the space station that got shot off a long time ago in the background, surrounded by some asteroids. We got like space clouds.
So let's start
space
with
lightning.
space stations.
So in Pyro, we have 12 space stations. One of them is the jump point station that you arrive at, coming from Stanton.
When you arrive in the gas cloud, you can't see every part of the station. It's impossible. In your cockpit, you're just gonna see like a bit of it. And then when you get closer, you're gonna see like, oh, yeah, that's huge.
They are quite a bit bigger and more involved than you would find in Stanton.
The exteriors are very aggressive looking. They're very spiky. There's an almost fractal nature to it.
The space stations are owned to like different like factions.
Okay, do you think that these are all collidable entities? You're like trying to fly around and find a landing spot, and you hit one of these, and you ship like I need 1,000 more waves for my ship to randomly explode.
Stations are owned to like different like factions, so you can see like the factions and branding on top of some of the stations, and then you can see like, oh, if like rough and ready, you're gonna have problems.
The Rough and Ready gang is one of our main operators in the Pyro system. Almost every single rest stop refueling station is going to be run by Rough and Ready. They started off back in 2939 when this enforcer named Rook had had enough. He had this great plan about how they could take over the fuel operations in the system, and the ruling council of the headhunters deemed that it was too risky. But a lot of other people had gotten wind of Rook's plans, and so he ended up splintering off and kind of forming his own gang. Rook decided to take on this symbology of rest and relax, which is a known refueling station, kind of do their own spin on it. And they took the double R and they became Rough and Ready. While they're totally down to defend their territory and they're not going to take any BS from anyone who's opening fire or hurting their business, they also don't get dragged unnecessarily into conflict.
Each of the 12 stations will have a unique exterior, and some of the ones will be Starlight Service Station, Obituary.
Ooh, I like that one.
A very happy name. Gaslight.
Wait, did they call it Obituary? Wait, what is it called?
Obituary.
Like Obituary?
A very happy name. Gaslight, but maybe that's not what it's really called. And Megumi Refueling, which is not as easy as it sounds to say. And of course, there's
Megumi
Checkmate
Refueling?
Station, which is a little bit different to how you may have seen it in Pyro Playground and CitizenCon. And there's also Ruin Station.
What sets Ruin apart?
Yeah, when you die, they're gonna write you an obituary in the newspaper, okay? Because you a bitch.
It's the big LEO. It was originally Checkmate that you would have seen in Pyro, but it's been greatly expanded. It has significantly revised and enlarged interior with much more gameplay.
Okay, when I saw this, I thought Satisfactory. That was the first thing that I thought.
Revised and enlarged interior with
the pulsing tubes.
Much more gameplay opportunity.
When you arrive in a Pyro space station, you'll recognize some of the activities that you already do in Stanton to be done there as well.
They have the same facilities, things like weapon shops, food courts, hangars.
You have direct access from your hangar to the cargo deck, and that's where you can buy your commodities or sell them, and then you can return right away into your instance hangar and then go off on your trip. From there, you can also access the external freight elevators to easily load your whole seas. And so we've made these gameplay loops much less tiring in Pyro.
And in Ruin Station.
Okay. Two things. Number one, that's kind of huge. So right now, if you have, like, let's say you have a bunch of Quantanium that you want to sell in your ship, you have to land, and then in 3.24, you've got to load it all into the cargo elevator. And then you've got to run all the way to, like, the TDD, the Trade and Development Department, or whatever it's called. And then you can sell. So it's like a long trip. You got to take a tram. So in Pyro, they said that at least at some of the stations, if not all of them,
to the cargo deck, and that's you have direct access from your hangar to the cargo deck, and that's where you can buy your commodities or sell them, and then you.
So from where you land, you have direct access to buy and sell commodities. So you can just go in, do it all there, and not have to, like, cross an entire city in order to, like, buy and sell. So that's pretty cool.
Can return right away into your instance hangar and then go off on your trip. From there, you can also access the external freight elevators to easily load your whole seas.
And internal and external freight elevators will be, like, accessible from right near the hangars also.
And so
that's
we've
pretty
made
cool.
these gameplay loops much less tiring in Pyro.
And in Ruin
Much less
Station, we
tiring.
have something called the Ghost Arena, which we'll let you discover for yourselves.
The Ghost Arena? Dude, guys, I already bought the ship skins. You don't need to have 17 ads in your Inside Star Citizen videos, okay? You can turn those off. Gotta get every penny.
For a contested zone, design-wise, we are likening them to kind of a classic MMO dungeon. Instead of the primary way of accessing this content being behind missions, we are taking more of an open approach.
It is
Contested
an open
zones.
space for players to go in and farm, get loot, some special rewards, and explore the station even more.
So what I really like about the contested zones is the fact that they are right there next to the social space. It's really quick access, which I think is something that makes Pyro unique. You can be in the social space, you have your shops, you have the hub, you have the clinic, but the contested zone is right there, often through just a door, an airlock.
This will be very visually distinctive. It'll be very cold. There'll be ice along the walls. Some of these don't have the life support systems. The power will be generally out.
We have booby traps and mines. You'll hear the odd rustling inside the vents with some potential surprises in it.
At some point,
Okay, not making fun of the game, but it's so funny to me how media depicts, like, motion detecting lasers as, like, a single strand, because apparently it was too expensive to scatter the light in like a shape of a fan that can I love that it's, like, always a single beam that just goes up and down, and it's not just like a cascading, like, fragmented light.
you'll be
you know what I
facing
mean?
multiple doors, and every door is giving you different things to fight, different rewards, and so you have to choose where to go. And some of them will be blocked through some puzzle elements, like key cards,
Puzzles?
to allow you to open the door and access the wing.
There's no
Some
puzzles.
areas are more secure than others with better rewards. Other areas are highly
Someone's gonna be camping
contested,
that.
and there's more players coming into that space and more like an arena. We really want to take advantage of that, the vibe for Pyro of PvP, of lawlessness, of being out, sometimes alone, but hopefully you're there with your buddies to help back you up.
The zone inhabits various types of outlaws.
Okay, look, devs. How come you get God mode? All right, I don't see any health bars. You're taking shots. You're definitely getting a hit here somewhere. Okay? Give me the God mode when I'm in contested
Various
zones
types
too.
of outlaws. These inhabitants are a constant population within this space. So they're not spawned via missions. They just exist there, and they will respawn over time. So this is a constantly inhabited space with a constant flow of challenges. It also inhabits creatures. Whilst we currently only have
There's
Copians, we are
creatures.
also thinking about expanding that potentially in the future.
The ends could, you could be fighting bosses.
A boss fight?
Yes, we would definitely want bosses. They could be guarding the best loot. They could be mission-based bosses that spawn as well. So whether these boss fights come to the contested zones or not, in 4.0 or beyond, is still up for development, but I would personally would really like to see that kind of thing added to contested zones to make them feel special.
So we're adding contested zones for 4.0 really to capitalize on the atmosphere.
This dude right here on the table.
4.0. Really.
He's waiting for the player to show up. You know what I mean? Like, this is what the gangs in the contested zones do while they're waiting for you to go in and try and steal the loot.
Just to capitalize on the atmosphere, the lawlessness,
tapping his fingers on the
players
table.
compete with one another, where there's really that tension of getting that loot out of there, but having to fight your way to do it, fight your way in, fight your way out.
This is all PvP, so you got to be careful and always be watching out for other players.
Sounds like a meat grinder.
It could be a meat grinder, especially being in Pyro with the PvP aspect. That's something that we are designing towards. Players may choose to go in to hunt other players, which I think adds a really interesting element to, because not only are you wary of the traps, the puzzles, but you have to kind of be wary, watch your back, ambushes from players, that kind of stuff.
For the social core, we've left the green zones so that people can still have an enjoyable social experience. So you don't have to worry about getting ganked every 2 minutes by other players, at least for the social space.
Unlike the global events that you know, such as Siege of Orison
didn't kill that
or
guy.
Overdrive, these are spaces that always exist and that you can always go into.
No, God, this is the third ad. It's a 14-minute video.
Loot that you've already gotten is going to come back. The time door that we have is timed based off of the world. So you have a really huge incentive to stay there, to keep holding your ground, to really make this your space as long as you can before other people take it from you. And I think that's one of the things that's really exciting to me about bringing this to Pyro.
I feel like I need to hear that part again because I didn't really understand the timed space.
Loot that you've already gotten is going to come back. The time door that we have is
timed door
timed based off of the
what does
world.
that mean?
So you have a really huge incentive to stay there, to keep holding your ground, to really
Why do you want to
make
stay?
this your space as long as you can before other people take it from you. And
Why
I
wouldn't
think
you want to get
that's
out?
one of the things that's really exciting to me about bringing this to Pyro.
Pyro has a number of asteroid clusters. They are the newer, larger asteroid clusters, so they should look and feel very different to the ones in Stanton.
Asteroid bases
Space
for
dust.
us are really trying to take
This looks sick.
advantage of our universe better in terms of the locations that we have.
Oh, that looks awesome.
Space is big, space is massive, but
What was that
for a
flying
game,
by?
often we don't take as much usage of it as we should. We're taking procedural asteroids and we're carving these locations into it. And we're really providing a lot of variety in the gameplay
Oh, these
in
look great.
a form factor space.
Essentially, we're utilizing the station interior set that we have created, and we're wrapping them around an asteroid, a big asteroid that allows us to be a lot more versatile with the kit that we have and create some interesting layouts for you.
Asteroid Base gives us the opportunity to create.
Did you see that? Do you see the spinning gun?
and create some
On the
interesting
floor.
layouts for you.
Asteroid Base gives us the opportunity to create missions where you can be in space, then you have to go on the interior to continue the mission. We made a little twist of the bunker, little space where we can have some missions, but in space.
Sometimes we could start with ship combat. You could have heavily defended areas on the outside. You could be engaging enemies outside on the landing pad.
Some of them even have copion infestations.
That should be fun.
That should be fun.
Asteroid
make
bases
copion
are
worth
not just
something.
for combat. Because they're procedural asteroids, one of the things that's really cool about them is we can have multiple routes into these locations.
Dude,
So
the cover.
players can EVA and enter through a vent hatch. You could find your way in through a hangar. You could go straight through the front door. But there's a lot of room for exploration, finding loot that's been hidden there with loot crates, and find certain items that are important for you that you want to use to progress through Pyro, things that you haven't seen
Progress through
before
Pyro.
in Stanton.
Can you tell us what that is?
No, I don't want to spoil it.
Okay, so they've got something
As a
in mind
baseline,
or
we
nothing
wanted
in
to bring
mind, one or the
Pyro
other.
Up to par with all the content that we already have in Stanton, but also make it unique. We believe that with the addition of contested zones and asteroid stations and all the other little pieces will give us unique aspects that really make it feel different from Stanton.
We're really looking forward to you finally getting your hands on the full experience of the stations. There's been a lot of effort put into them. There's a lot more diversity now inside and outside of the stations, both in terms of visuals and design.
Asteroid bases and contested zones, for us, are two really exciting new location types that we're bringing to the fans for Pyro. It's not a global event, so it's long-term. It's always going to be there. You can come back, get new cool stuff, advance your progression, and have fun
You gotta aim
with
down sights,
your
bro.
friends and your party, your orgs, and, have a great time in Pyro.
What else did we learn this week? Well, we learned that Rough and Ready have cornered the market on space stations in the Pyro system, and that green zones are in place to make the experience in station social areas a bit more manageable for players. That does not extend to the new contested zones, where chaos and carnage will reign supreme, and those who can temper it, solve their puzzles, collect their treasures, and escape will be rewarded for their efforts. And that asteroid bases should allow for a combined arms assault to explore what's contained within, and Christopher doesn't want me to say just yet. We want to make sure it'll work the way we want it to. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Don't forget to vote in the Ship Showdown when that
I
happens.
thought he was going to say, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Don't forget to keep testing 324 and 4.0 on PTU when that happens. Thanks for letting us share the people and process of game development when that happens. And we'll see you all here next week for Fire.
Fire. But yeah, I agree that they need to add some kind of items and loot outside of armor and weapons, because that's what I was wondering. Like, why would you want to stay in one of those contested zones longer? Because there's not loot that you can get if you stay longer. Like, you get armor, a weapon, and you go, right? Like, that's pretty much it. So there's got to be something else that you're there for, preferably something that's worth money, right? Because money makes Star Citizen go round. The problem is they're probably scared to add stuff to those that directly translates to money, much like in the drug event that we just had like a month ago or whatever, where they like lowered the price that those drugs were worth in the event because they don't want someone to just be able to camp it and then make infinite money if they're the only people there. So it's like a Sea of Thieves problem, right? Where in Sea of Thieves you can kind of do that, where if you get to the right places, you can kind of lock down islands and just print the money. So they mentioned a progression of pyro, but I don't think they've mentioned what that might look like, or if progression to them means what progression means to me. Because they said we're not talking about that yet, but everything else looks cool. I think the idea of contested zones is great. I think having like spots in the station where you can go and transition straight from the station without having to go get in a ship, fly somewhere, and have a PvP zone right there potentially is really good. I think the asteroid bases being more remote, that you do have to kind of go to remote, like fly to and have different entrance points, is interesting, because do you hide your ship and fly in on a bike? Do you just park outside? You know, like there's at least a little bit there to chew on. Do you leave somebody on the landing pad to kind of stand guard? Do you leave somebody else in a ship outside? Is there enough loot in there that's worth going through that extra effort? But at the very least, the art team did a fantastic job, because I don't know about boss fights. Boss fights worry me, because I feel like that's just going to be guy who eats 1,000 bullets. I don't know what else that could really be. But the art team for all the bases and stuff looks really good. Like they do look fun to just walk around in and explore. What this tells me, like when I watch these guys RP walk with their guns,
rewards.
I feel like there should be some kind of accuracy bonus to walking slowly, and if you're moving fast, you shouldn't be able to get the laser accuracy the same. I don't know. It'd be cool if it was like better to move more slowly, but because it just looks cooler, I guess. But anyway, yeah, asteroid bases, the stations look good. I think having a, like with the contested zones, I think that they're going to do something where there's like keys, and you get the keys and you could open doors to get a little bit further in Tarkov style or something, or maybe even Sea of Thieves style. So I think that's a good idea. Give you some more PvE content to kind of work toward, and have the threat of PvP kind of be looming behind you at all times. So it seems cool. Give that a like. And now catching up on playing with fire, because I haven't seen this one either.
Last week, we explored some of the new adventures available to players in space in the upcoming Alpha 4.0. But there are even more dangers to be found within your spacecraft and vehicles. Fire is blazing a trail towards its awaited debut in the persistent universe. And while we don't want to burn any bridges with the resource management team, we'll jump out of the fire and into their frying pan in just a few weeks. Wow, I really bet their ears are burning. We're fired up to give the VFX arsonists a chance to set the world on fire this week, or at least just the interior of spaceships, because we don't want them to burn themselves out playing with fire. I'm out of idioms now. I'm gonna go see if I can add more fuel to the fire.
He's going, dude. Perfect intro.
In 4.0, we'll have fire inside of ships. For our initial rollout, we didn't really want players to start fires everywhere. The poor service, they really wouldn't be able to handle it. So we decided to focus on the interior of ships. They're smaller, more contained, and more controlled. Fire is tightly integrated with the resource network system, and a great fit for a first release within the spaceships, where resource network will be focusing on as many ships as we can.
Quantum! Get out of here! Do I have to watch 4 more ads?
Starting a fire is based on damage, and like different kinds of damage.
Fires can be caused by ship items when they hit 0 health. There are also ways for ship items to cause fires in the normal running and operation of them. We're currently looking at making it so that when they misfire and they have the highest level of wear, that there is a chance that they can also cause fires.
But other types of damage.
Okay, what's the difference in 0 health starting a fire, and what's the maximum level of wear in starting a fire? Is the maximum level of wear independent from the health of an item? Those two different things?
Like impacts from weapons or explosions, they could also ignite a fire. Another way to start a fire is getting the environment hot enough to actually get your surfaces to auto-combust.
Oh, no.
For example, if you open up your door on a really, really hot planet and the hot air starts to flow into your ship, then
No way.
If that air is hot enough, and some surfaces might start igniting from that.
Seriously? I could open my door and my ship might catch fire?
You would need a room to reach, I think it's like 1,000 Kelvin for those materials to start to smoke.
So it's something that's technically possible, but it's not likely.
If the planet is warm enough, yes.
Is there a planet warm enough to do that right now?
I don't think so.
Okay, I just want to be sure. You're saying systemically it's possible.
Systemically it's possible, yeah.
It's technically possible, but very unlikely.
Don't worry, everybody.
Part of the
Aberdeen
fire
is not
hazard
gonna catch
system
fire.
propagation is based on the fire triangle, which is oxygen, fuel, and temperature. Oxygen is tracked by the room system, the atmosphere. That is, most rooms in the universe have their atmosphere tracked, including oxygen. The fuels, they will be tracked on the surfaces, so every surface in the universe is marked up with a surface type. That surface type has different properties for fire propagation to work.
Oh no.
The heat that is usually from a ignition source is the damage that could happen, but also if you have an object already on fire, that could start a fire again based on the heat that that fire is emitting. Fire.
Okay, hold on. There was a lot of words right there. Something heat start the fire again.
The heat that is usually from a ignition source is the damage that could happen, but also if you have an object already on fire, that could start a fire again based on.
If you have an object already on fire, it could start a fire again. But what does that mean? Fires can start fires, Peepo G.
On the heat that that fire is emitting.
Nearby objects, I assume?
Fire will start small if you have a small ignition point, so it will not start blazing immediately, so it will start propagating quite slowly. But if you leave it untended, then the fire will start growing, and the more it grows, the faster the propagation will happen and the larger the fire will get.
It's quite complicated to have a control over that much energy, heat. It's a balance. I think
I'm allergic to fire propagating throughout all of my ships. Okay, the thing that appeals to me here, why is it bad that the first thing that I think of is I can't wait to sneak on other people's ships and start fires and then burn everybody's ships out? That's the first thing that I think of. Like if I just catch them, you know, like they're off doing something, but they left the door open. I'm starting a fire, bro.
that's the hardest thing to get, having the balance, having the fire texture that works well with the particle behavior, with the heat, the sparks. You need to have the whole feeling of heat and danger, and it's when you get this spot where it really starts to make you look certainly afraid of it that, yeah, it starts gets good, I would say.
Eve Online, that's a different space game.
You're not ready for it.
I'm not ready for it. He said it himself.
Each of the materials that we have marked up, they have their properties, and we can set a material to be combustible or not. Most surfaces will be combustible. A few exceptions, such as glass, will not be. But the one.
So they have the opportunity here. They're not gonna do it, I feel like, but they have the opportunity to make combustible materials a method of ship progression, among other things, right? There needs to be more stuff to do with your ship. Like, imagine being able to choose different compartments of your ship to make more or less fire resistant. as like an upgrade path. That could be fun, where you choose like individual component housings to be more or less fire resistant, or the cockpit, or the cargo hold, or the doors, or the walls, or whatever.
But the ones that are, especially in ships, we decided to go for a more tech approach. So even if metal itself will not easily combust, we assume that behind that metal there will be pipes and cables that can catch fire based on the properties that each surface type has. For example, wood will burn different from rubber or plastic or metal. So the propagation between those will interact differently. Don't worry, like not everything will catch fire at the same time. We have these different properties that will cause different surfaces to catch fire at different times.
You have to think of the other things that can also catch fire. Things like your cargo, which you probably don't want to catch fire because if it burns out, you will lose it. Other things might be loose ship items that you have laying around just in case you want to repair your ship.
The player itself will not be able to catch fire, but the player will feel the influences of fire in their environment. So if you step into the fire, then you will take damage.
Okay.
If you are near to the fire, you will feel the heat. So your actor status will start showing up with like higher temperatures. If the fire is not managed properly, for example, your life support can't feed in enough oxygen, then oxygen will be drained and your player will start to asphyxiate.
Why can't I set people on fire?
Tech.
Tech.
Will you commit here and now that someday we'll set people on fire?
I will commit to nothing.
I tried, everybody.
People will have different ways of setting fires to ships, hopefully other people's ships, not your own. It is important to know.
Okay, I like to imagine that when he shot this, there was no fire, and then when he finished shooting it, is that the fire within 1 second?
It is important
or was that
to know
already
for
on fire?
4.0 that we will not have fire outside of ships. So if you set fire to an item inside one ship, you can bring it to another ship, given that the medium that you're traveling through has enough oxygen to sustain the fire. You can set fire by damaging items in the ship, so shooting them when an item dies that has a chance to set fire. Other ways to set fire are bringing in ignited items and placing them in someone else's ship.
Okay, it's catching really fast, bro.
One of the biggest challenges that we recently had with fire was the networking, and Francesco has done a really, really amazing job with getting that ready.
The presence or absence of fire is a very, very important thing to convey to players. You don't want a player stepping into a thing that doesn't look like it's burning or avoiding a thing that looks like it's burning. Synchronizing
we get to
fire
be firefighters.
was a very important part of
we get
making
fire
sure that
extinguishers.
the function correctly. And we have a lot of data that fire generates, and a lot of data doesn't work well over networks. There was a lot of work being put into relying as much as possible on the fact that our fire system is stable, it's deterministic, it will always do the same thing given the same initial parameters. There were a lot of cases. There were cases of players joining in late. They obviously don't get where the fire was 3 hours ago. They just say now. They need to know where it is now. There's players who have really bad internet connectivity or servers struggling a lot. Situations that
You need to be closer, man.
a hold to the continuous progress of fire from one end or the other, and we need to reconcile that. So we needed a way to know when fire was no longer suitably similar between what the player was seeing and what the server thought was there, and refresh it at that point, and minimize how much data we needed to refresh it at that point. We are pretty happy with the way it works now. We have it so that it sends as little data as possible to sort of create these summarized states for the client and server, and only when these differ enough do we actually send that relatively big, still compressed, but relatively big snapshot to synchronize everything back together.
A fire that is left unchecked will spread throughout your ship. And if it does this and it reaches your ship components,
System is offline.
then you'll be having a very bad day. And this could lead to your ship being both crippled or destroyed. So this means you will be able to put out fires using a fire extinguisher. Where possible, we have made sure that fire extinguishers are readily available throughout our ships.
The extinguishers, they're very simple to use. They are point and shoot. You have to be careful that you don't start flailing wildly with your extinguisher. If you have to aim at the base of your fire and then keep it there to cool down the surface and take away enough of the heat and the oxygen so that the fire calms down.
Has anybody used a fire extinguisher in real life? A surprising number of you have used fire extinguishers in real life. Okay, I know who not to trust while camping or cooking. Okay, I'm identifying which of you to avoid. Pyromaniac chat. It is Pyromaniac chat. I set a toaster on fire before reheating pizza. Why were you reheating pizza in a toaster? Sometimes a truck engine just catches fire. Don't judge me. You had a fire... Dude, most people don't have fire extinguishers in their vehicles, I would say. Is there a danger in leaving a fire extinguisher with compressed components in 120-degree Fahrenheit temperatures? Because I feel like there would be, but maybe there's not. I don't know. Also, having a system to vent oxygen would probably be easier. Listen, chat, the video's not done yet. Okay? The video's not done. Just give them a moment.
There will be a temperature readout where you can see how strong the fire is still where you're aiming.
And you need to keep your finger on the trigger until it actually goes out. Fires can just be smoking there, and technically it's very close to being on fire. So you really do want to make sure it's really out
Put it on
before
your back.
you move on. Because
This
if you
is
just
your fault,
leave
chat.
them smoking and then go wandering off, there's a good chance it will heat up again and catch fire again.
Really? Okay, so like if... how do you get a... Can you get a temperature readout?
To being on fire. So you really do want to make sure it's really out before you move on. Because if you just leave them smoking and then go wandering off, there's a good chance it will heat up again and catch fire again.
How do you get the temperature readout?
It's worth knowing that a fire extinguisher has a limited amount of ammo within it. To your benefit, you can also take your fire extinguishers back to where they are stored, plug them in, and then they will recharge the ammo.
That's cool.
However, it is important to know that if your ship doesn't have a functioning life support at this moment, the recharge will not work.
If you leave the fire completely untended, then your ship can completely burn out, so it will look completely black. If the life support can keep up providing enough oxygen, then it will just keep going until all of the fuel that is the surface.
I think it's really brave that they put a live video of the Star Citizen server room in this Inside Star Citizen. Am I the first one to make that joke?
Has been burnt out. Or if the life support is not running, then your fire will start to diminish. But if you don't do anything, the life support will keep feeding in oxygen enough for the fire to be sustained and start spreading everywhere.
You don't want people to put fires out?
No. I want him to die in a fire.
Okay, easy.
The views and opinions of Leo do not represent those of Platinum Pyramid Games, Harvard Space Industries, or its subsidiaries.
Guns. Or gun sights. Upgrade, upgrade, upgrade. Wait. You're selling AirPods? Gun range AirPods. Freaking hardcore.
There are
Okay, now this is what I'm interested in. This is like the engineer station, right? And how you're gonna manage the power and stuff on the ship. So this is completely different from anything we have now in Star Citizen. I'm sure they're about to explain what I'm about to analyze. I just assume they're gonna cut off of this and I'm not gonna get to look at this anymore. I know that I'm weeks late to analyzing this, and I'm sure the internet has already solved everything about it, but I'm catching up, so I'm just going to do my own little analysis here so I can figure out what I'm looking at, because this looks awesome so far. We got life support consumed versus produced up here. And I'm not sure what these are notifications, presumably, of 44 things that have happened. Right now, there's not really like explicit text, but it seems like anytime there's a fire or other alert on something, then you get like a readout. You've got presets that you can do. So you can save like battle station presets, presumably fire on deck presets, and just hot swap between the presets. That's great. Over here, we've got empty versus full of something. I don't know if that's fuel, air, power, whatever those things are. This appears to be some kind of like power allocation, like your power pool from your generator. That would be my guess. And then applying that to weapons, engines, shield, and question mark. Now we've got one for laser, two with arrows, a gun, signal or radar or ping or something, and then oxygen. And then there's 6 tabs at the bottom. Germs, door controls, probably airlocks, so you can vent. Automated weapons? That looks like a turret to me. So I guess it could be the ship weapons, but or it could be like the turret in your ship that is mannable. Small door. I don't know what that is. This is a similar icon to this one, and then emergencies. This is very interesting, and you can also see the behind me is like the Aegis branding, so it might look different depending on the ship make and model or manufacturer. Internal and external doors, maybe. But this looks really good. I think this is a good way to do it. FTL already solved how to distribute power. We've been trying to reinvent the wheel for over 10 years. Nobody's done it right. Starfield copied it. It's high time that Star Citizen copies it too. There's really only a handful of games that even use it, right? It's not even that omnipresent throughout sci-fi games. It's a good system, gives players something to do who aren't piloting. You can probably do it like this if you are piloting also. It's hands-on. I like it.
More ways to extinguish fire. With the life support and resource network, you can cut power to your life support for a room, and that means that there will be no more oxygen provided, which means that the fire itself will start using up all the oxygen, and it will extinguish slowly by itself.
There you go.
Another way is to open up your doors to open space, and that will mean that all of the atmosphere is being sucked out into open space, and again, no more oxygen for your fire to continue.
That is awesome.
After a fire, you can repair your items or replace them. Fire can damage your interior of your spaceship. We have some...
Anyway, I told you to just keep watching. See? I knew they were going to talk about it.
damage your interior of your spaceship. We have some very beautiful burn decals that Francesco and Guillaume have been working on to
burn decals look
show
good.
you where
Char.
your ship has been burned. The visual damage to the surfaces is not something you can repair manually, but you can go to a repair station and repair your ship.
I want my ship to
there,
look like
and
that on
will
purpose.
get rid of all of the visual burn.
But if I want to leave it burned because it looks cool, I can do that?
Jared knows.
You can do that. It persists. I'm very happy with the current progress. It's been a very long road for the team to get to this point. It's amazing to finally be able to roll this out to the players.
It's amazing to work with. It's just so fun, and the results are very good and very quick. So
I'm looking forward to
That's a lot of
see what
smoke.
people will do with it, like what kind of weird edge cases they'll find, and we'll probably have to fix up. But it's as long as the servers don't die because of fire, and I think we will be able to deal with it.
Listen, you don't have to worry about the servers dying because of fire. They're already dead, so can't blame you.
So what did we learn this
Is
week?
that this is
well, we
fine,
learned where
Penguin?
and how fire will make its first appearances in the persistent universe, in your spaceships. How it'll spread and the dangers of leaving it unchecked. Your spaceships will burn and maybe go boom. And both how you'll put them out or potentially spread the fire to other vehicles. And I'm banking y'all might find some ways that we missed. Now don't forget the ship showdown is still underway. It's your chance to vote on which vehicles you like best, as well as send John Crew messages on social media that he legally has to respond to during this time.
Hi all, David here. The only thing I have to say about this is no. Just no. Our program will now conclude.
For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the people and process of game development with you, and we'll see you all here next week. It's time to go Pyro Planet side.
Pyro Planet side.
How do you start a fire? First, you contact
Okay.
ATC.
Yeah, I could start with that. That would be good. I could say that. You want me to do that? Well, first of all, you start. Yeah, you call the ATC and they set fire to your ship.
I think that's a joke because you have to call ATC to go through the wormholes. So people were complaining about that. Well, fire looks great. I think fire's the feature I'm actually most excited about, probably because it's intertwined with the other sort of ship systems like life support and the console managing power. You know, it seems like those are all sort of intertwined. So I think I'm excited about fire by extension of the life support and engineering subsystems. I think all that's what I'm most excited about. And I think it's a fun thing to do on the ship to try to keep your ship together. And also, again, like chat's pointing out, disincentivize soloing huge ships because you have to be in charge. Now, here's the thing. I feel like a lot of people, it really depends on whether they let you do all those engineering controls from the pilot's chair. Because if you can do that from the pilot's chair and they're in a spacesuit, why wouldn't they just turn off life support on their ship and then instantly kill the fire? So I think a lot of that's going to come down to their plans for not letting you pilot ships in full combat gear. Is supposed to be like something that happens down the pipe where you have different kits for different jobs and you have different helmets for whether you're in combat or whether you're mining or whether you're doing this or that. So you're not always going to be in depressurization ready, no problem mode. I hope that they would just keep the pilot controls, and the engineer, and not have the pilot do everything, which is how the game currently works, where the pilot kind of is just, you don't even need your friends because you've got the biggest guns in the pilot's chair. So what do you need other people for? Like, it would be kind of silly if they just let everything happen from the pilot's seat. That's not the way it works in any sci-fi media at all.
This is how I will prove.
I am not watching this ad. I've already done this. But yeah, the soloing big ships is something that needs to die, and I think engineering and fire and more stuff beyond is a great way to do that. I think that's a great first step, is what I would say. There need to be significantly more limitations. .6.0, we get working closets. I have a closet on my Nomad, but it doesn't work. So maybe we will, Aranor. Maybe we will. But yeah, I'm not going to go on a whole side rant again like we used to about soloing big ships. They need to just kill it, and if you don't like your ship after if you don't like soloing your C2 Hercules, then melt it and get a different one. Once they start changing the rules. Etal, may I ask a newbie Star Citizen question? Well, you just asked a question. You could have just asked it just now. But then you asked a question about asking a question. I wish the ladders on big ships were less buggy. Let me fix that statement for you. I wish the game were less buggy. There you go. You could apply that to a great many things, for sure. That was your question. Hurry up, Seth Draxus. The whole stream is waiting on you to ask your question before we start this social behavior video. Were there any tools or resources you used to learn about trading? I'm new and have a cargo of copper. I was trying to work out where to take people happy. Yeah. For that, what I used was this. sc-trade.tools/commodities. I just posted it in the chat. And you can type in a commodity at the top and it'll tell you who buys it and who sells it. Generally, you'll just need to park and go to the trade and development. I don't think copper is worth very much, so don't get your hopes up. But it'll tell you who buys it and for how much. And then you usually will just go to either the TDD or to the hub. Now in 3.24, you've got to do the offloading and all that. There was a game about mining with coding. What was its name? Starbase. Supposedly there's still... No, that was Starbase. That was the mining and coding game. It is definitely Starbase. That's the one. They're still developing it, apparently. They weren't developing it for like over a year because they canceled it. And now they started to develop it again. But I don't know how that's going. Okay. But yeah, fire looks cool. I think the propagation is neat. I think the fact that it tracks temperature is amazing. I like the idea that it can like restart itself if you don't properly cool it. I like the interaction with the life support, venting different areas, opening doors. I like the firefighters and having to put out localized fires because you don't always want to just vent the entire ship when a small fire starts on a component. I like the fact that components can be damaged and then start a fire or misfire and gives you something to deal with on the ship. Something for somebody else to do, as well as engineering, repairing components, replacing fuses, all that stuff, and manning turrets. It was first person and underground. It had a horror ambiance. The indie game. Tunnet, right? Tunnet. There you go. I guess it was a different mining game with coding elements.
There's a lot you can say about the upcoming Pyro system. It's dangerous, obviously. It's lawless, certainly. But it's not all just chaos and carnage completely. It's also People just trying to make their living where they can in a place that's challenging and pretty different from the adjacent Stanton system.
Nice haircut, Jared.
From repairing your neighbor's generator to supporting the nearby farmers, there's much you can do to be a social and upstanding citizen for Pyro's prosperity.
Skulls. Social behavior. He's talking about you. Ooh, I like that planet. Swirly blue.
So the planets of Pyro are different from Stanton in the fact that they all have to deal with the Pyro star system being at the end of its life cycle, emitting huge amounts of solar flare radiation, and we have to consider, like, what is that actually doing to each planet? Naturally, Pyro 1, closest to the sun, is going to be the heaviest influence of the solar flare firing off. So how do those people live? But the people furthest away from the star on Pyro 6 are going to have the least amount of radiation, but it's also going to be super cold at the same time. How do those people live instead?
In Stanton, you have huge landing zones, which are very protected, very safe, lots of security.
Are they, though? Also, this idiot, why would you avoid the times 20? You want me to download it just so that I can play better than you. The times 20 doesn't exist. It's like the super jackpot on a slot machine. You're never going to see that in the game.
In Pyro, there's no such thing. You're very exposed to the danger. Everything is a lot more spread out. People aren't huddled into landing zones. They have the entirety of the system to roam across.
There are no central sources of power in the Pyro star system. It's all decentralized, and each outpost has its own different identity and what it means for you as a player. As you go to these different places, should you be aligned with one faction, you can visit these locations. Should you align with another faction, you can go to these other locations instead.
You've got a lot more to do there. So instead of going down, doing a mission, flying away again, you can go down, do a mission, do another mission, do a third mission, and then go to another outpost on the same planet, do some missions there. You have a much more involved outpost.
Me waiting on 4.0 to be released.
On the same planet, do some missions there. You have a much more involved experience.
So let's look at some of the places you'll be visiting.
All right, but this is something I said that they should do on the Stanton cities, which is go down to the cities, and there's like a number of things to do in the cities, right? Why go to, the only reason you go to Area 18 is because you died and respawned, or you just started in a new wipe, and you had to pick a new home, or you needed to fly to TDD and sell stuff on your ship. That's the only like 3 reasons to go down there, right? There needs to be like things to do that you can just park and be like, I'm going to do a bunch of missions in Lorville. And they just have things in the city for you to do, quest givers, quests, objectives, ways to make money there. So at least it sounds like they're doing some of that in the Pyro system.
So farmsteads are a small slice of life within the Pyro star system to get you introduced to what it's like to live there.
Landing complete.
There are places to gather harvest.
Back up. Is this the new Aurora UI? It looks sweet, dude. The MFD update, man, it's going to be crazy. The text is so clear and legible. And I'm kind of blocking a little bit on the right-hand side, but it's just thrusters and the diagnostics page, shields. This is split into 2, which I like, so you can have maybe a target and you on the same HUD, which is great. Instead of just one screen for each thing on either side. Then your weapons, 2, they haven't even gotten the 2 extra bulldogs. Unfortunate. And then the power distribution. Oh, that looks good. Velocity. 100% remaining of what? I'm not sure. Decoys, noise, your Atmo gear. It looks so clean. And then the, like, quote-unquote radar.
Star system to get you introduced to what it's like to live there.
Landing complete.
There are places to gather harvestables. Places to complete your missions.
Who dat? It's
and
full
ultimately, your first introduction to how people live in the Pyro star system.
farms are probably one of my favorite ones, just because I really like the vibe of them.
Is
good
the
vibe.
closest thing to a home feeling I think you'll find in Pyro. You feel like there's a smaller community living here.
There's a lot more fields of crops, there's a lot more greenhouses. For the lawless ones, we've got these like grub farm greenhouses, which are really cool as well. They tend to be in a lot more open, plain-like areas, big fields of crops around them.
There is things to do, there's things to harvest, but it's also just the vegetation that kind of sits on a lot of the desolate landscapes that we have in Pyro. Give you a little bit of this mini feeling of like a little oasis.
There's one in particular on Pyro 2 that's really nice and has this really nice vibe, that kind of like lazy windmill circling in the breeze on a plain that's just like almost featureless apart from these few buildings on it. That really gives especially at sunset, like really gives an amazing vibe of like, these people live in the ass end of nowhere, but are really trying to do their best to survive.
They're going to be quest number 1. Pick 10 potatoes. Turn in. Quest number 2. Make a pizza. Wait, no, what is this? A hot tub or an oven? I can't tell what that is.
Some goods that are only grown in Pyro.
Hang on. Are those giant fingers?
Goods that are only grown in Pyro because of its unique star system that can be shipped back to Stanton.
We have a whole bunch of new mission types that you'll be able to do there. Then they're more geared around repairing pieces of machinery. We have what we call charge drain technology coming over from Squadron, which enables you to transfer an electrical charge from one component to another. So you can like jumpstart a generator, for example. There's scope for much more gathering type of missions, like going out into the field, collecting crops.
I told
There's
you.
a big focus on
That's an easy
non-combat at a place like a farm.
An ad for the thing I'm watching.
Let's
now you got adception.
Talk about scrapyards.
Because I'm watching a Star Citizen video and an ad in the
Scrapyards
middle.
are one of the few locations within the Pyro star system where you can actually service your ship that is not on space stations or LEOs.
We'll have more scrap in a scrapyard, which makes a lot of sense, but we've got the towering cranes with derelict spaceships in there.
Let me
The
tow
skeletons
player
of
ships
spaceships
there
being
for
pulled
money.
apart.
And we can see that there is a certain order to things where things get disassembled and moved around, and where your aircrafts are getting refueled and repaired. There will be little shops as well to kind of get you on the way for your journey.
And we've got these large
love
landing
these
pits
areas.
in all the scrapyards that are unique to the scrapyards, which are the big sort of sunken pits for
The landing
repairing,
pits.
rearming, refueling.
My
They
Nomad.
kind of bring that kind of unique, okay, this is a scrapyard because I know that there's a landing
not the
pit here,
Nomad.
and they're the only types of outposts that have those.
Landing complete.
Here,
That's a
you're
Buccaneer.
able to interact with Chrysler services, refuel your ship, repair your ship, even rearm your ship as well. In addition to servicing your ship, you can also service the scrapyard itself. You've got to use your charge and drain tools to be able to repair pipes, repair canisters, any faults in machinery, etc.
It's very much about taking things apart and organizing them and shipping them off again.
But unlike the landing zones within the Stanton system, there is no air traffic controller. There is nobody to filter out where you can go. You simply choose a parking space, you land there, you service your ship, and you must fly out.
The new mission type that we have.
Imagine you couldn't repair your ship until you fixed the station. And then before you leave, you like break all this shit before the next person goes.
Is salvaging, but in first person. So you don't need to be in a ship. It will be something that you can do on foot.
Oh, wow.
So
Salvaging
salvaging all the various panels which have turned up at the scrapyards in order to
Wow.
process them. Another piece of non-combat gameplay at scrapyards might be repairing machinery. We have a system which uses the resource network and engages it
We
in
need
missions.
repairs,
So
mate.
you will be able to, for example, if there's a broken piece of machinery, you'll be able to find a working piece of machinery, rip components and fuses and parts out of that, apply it to the broken one, and make that run instead. But of course, you've broken the first machine by doing that.
Without any landing zones in the Pyro Star system, we're using scrapyards to be able to help service your ships so that you can navigate to other locations on the planet, as well as get back up into space as well. But the largest concentration of player activity is going to be happening at the trade posts. The trade posts are where the player is going to be dealing.
Oh, I knew you were going to cut. This place is like nestled in here. There's a road that goes through with like the overhangs, like a land bridge thing over the top there. Little pipes watering some crops.
Going to be dealing with trade and commodity, organizing themselves between different groups in order to purchase different food, water, ship weapons, ship components, armor, grenades, med pens, whatever, you name it, it can be found and sold here.
The glare.
They focus quite heavily on hauling, delivery, and shuttling goods around.
Trader posts are organized by several different factions within the Pyro Star system. At these different locations, you might find different inventory, different perks, different goods. So if you're aligned with Citizens for Prosperity, you might visit locations such as Jackson Swamp on Pyro 2 or Conard View on Pyro 6. Conard View is in a very cold location that's very inhospitable, but people still need to be able to service and trade and do things around this planet. You can find different goods, different resources there, all being sold at this location.
Okay.
As Conard View is sheltered within a crater, it is also a safer location away from other headhunter gangs nearby, so you've got fewer people competing for your wares or trying to pirate from you either.
These games suck. All of them. This is the new generation version of like those CDs that had like 10,000 games on them back in the day that they sold at like Walmart. You know what I mean? That's what those are.
Jackson Swamp is sheltered between these two different cliff bluffs, offering them lots of protection. And through there, we went for a spaghetti western style main thoroughfare with lots of different landing pads around.
My mule!
And
okay,
because
hold on.
it's well established.
Two things. Number one, did you play the Pyro playtest? I did not. I have not gotten to do that playtest. Another settlement needs repairs. Let me mark this on your map. Did you see how this is the most replayed section right here?
And through there, we
What's
went
in
for
the
a spaghetti
background?
western style main thoroughfare with lots of different
What is
landing
this?
pads around. And because it's well established,
UFO?
it's got some nice defensive measures so that it
Like is that just like a random player ship going through the atmosphere? It seems like the atmosphere is really low there. Kind of look like an asteroid.
can't be immediately attacked by any.
Dude, have a planet where asteroids randomly like land and impact, and you go there, and that's where like the Janelite has a much higher spawn chance, but like other players might show up looking for it to mine that too. Oh, that's a great idea. Devs, that one's free, dude.
Rogue factions within Pyro.
We see in Jackson Swamp, it's a hard environment that these people live in. It's not an easy living.
Visually, it echoes like the rest of the sort of art style that we call the sort of frontier art style.
If we look at the buildings, we see that there's a lot of stucco elements, there's a lot of makeshift little knickknacks that people have gathered from around the Pyro system.
It's a mixture of that hard scrabble life and people trying to make the best of what they have and repairing things over and over again and like replacing things that break.
You can see that the way that people are living there, it's very makeshift. Rooms were built to have a certain purpose, but have lost that purpose many years ago.
There's still that sort of decorative, artisanal, craftsman-like elements in there as well, with the rough weave rugs and things like that. So we're trying to really like push that homesteading vibe in complete opposition
Industrial
to things
heaters.
like the space stations and Microtech, which up to now has been this very corporate, lots of metal, lots of angles, lots of edges, lots of sci-fi. This is supposed to soften off all those corners.
You as a player can land whatever
What ship
size
is
ship
this?
you have.
Oh, it's a reclaimer.
Purchase whatever size ship components and ship weapons you might want to have. You can visit the local warehouse or order any potential things that you might need to have, commodities, food, etc. Where anybody needs to be able
UI.
to get
Maybe
something,
we'll see in a
purchase
minute.
it, collect it. This is where all the players are going to be collecting. But maybe you align yourself with headhunters and you visit locations like Gone of Steel and Golden Riviera. Gone of Steel is a smaller outlaw trade post perched in Pyro 4's massive crater. It's there as a stopgap between Pyro 3 and Pyro 6 because there is not much landmass around Pyro 5. Pyro 5 is a gas giant, and yet you need to have a midway drop-off.
Someone's going ham on the keyboard in the background.
To get from Pyro 3 over to Pyro 6 on the far side because Pyro's star system is far larger than Stanton. Golden Riviera is one of those sleazy towns which is just full of seedy people.
Gordon Riviera is like Spanish Gordon Ramsay. That's all I had to say.
Absolutely taken over by the headhunters. They've butchered everything. They've changed how they want things to work. Trade posts are possibly selling slave pods and find other illegal goods. But it's just a central hub of like sleaziness.
Don't judge them.
It is still built out of this minimal things that are laying around. It's very a hodgepodge of different things that come together. What makes Golden Riviera different is that now a tornado just went through the entire place.
What?
It is absolute chaos.
Like
Bits
literally
and
or
bobs are
figuratively?
laying around. Things have rusted, and you will find mattresses of where people have been sleeping in the weirdest corners. We can see that the people that have been living in the space have really outlived this location a little bit.
Dude, I want to use a planetary
The
defense
idea is that
platform
these
like
are
that
once
works.
prosperous outposts that have since been like basically home invaded by the bad guys and taken over completely. So we use a lot of like more like fire and lots of spiked kind of like cladding.
Oh, we know
and
all about
rusty
fire
metal
now.
elements just to give that kind of, I hesitate to say Mad Max, but kind
Push.
of that more apocalyptic vibe, I suppose.
Jackson Swap, even though it is very improvised, it has a certain structure underneath it. And Golden Riviera this structure is nearly gone. It is really chaos, anarchy that this place really embodies.
Is that
Players
Jared?
coming to our locations should feel like they are encountering a whole new frontier where people feel a little bit on edge and they're curious about you, but they're also hesitant to meet you at the same time. There is no law, there is no jurisdiction, there is no protection. There is just you and people trying to get by and live their lives.
So, what did we learn this week? Well, hopefully that
What did
there's
we
a
learn,
whole lot
Jared?
more to Pyro than just being a jerk and destroying everything you see and touch. That while all the systemic gameplay systems of Stanton can be found there, Pyro arrives with a few new ones of its own. And that at launch, there are two primary factions that currently dominate much of Pyro's planetside. And your choice of allegiance will determine much about where you'll go and what you'll do with your time there. And if you were asking yourself, hey, do these two factions ever fight? Well, I'd say come back in 2 weeks to see not only how much they don't like each other, but how they both have to contend with the ongoing presence of Xenothreat as their neighbors. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the people and process of game development with you. And we'll see you all here next week with a special Ship Showdown showcase look back at the work of superstar Gavin Rothery. He's so good.
Okay. I don't really care about Ship Showdown. Sorry, devs. So we might skip through the next one. Just get to the current week. But you're welcome for watching. Good video. I think Pyro looks cool. We know they keep showing Pyro. I think the main things from this are where the most replayed things are. The planets look cool. I think that exploring them's gonna be fun. I think that the areas that they design look nice. The farms look cool. I think the issue is gonna be, I don't want to get paid 5,000 credits to go pick 20 fruit. The problem is all the content is tied to boring missions where the same content, if done with dynamic sandbox gameplay in mind, is suddenly much more fun, right? What's more fun, chat? in Star Citizen, going with a multi-tool into a cave because you think you might find some nice materials that you can take and sell, or a mission telling you, go into this cave and mine 20 minerals and come back. You know what I mean? Like, doing the same content is always more fun when you think it's your idea. If the game like tells you to do it, like if they were just like, go pick potatoes, pick 20 potatoes and you get 10,000 credits, that's boring. But if I knew that I could go find different places and do farming on my own and maybe either make money off of that or use those resources, and let's say in 3 years there's a cooking gameplay where you could combine ingredients and get buffs or something, like that clicks in your brain because it was your idea. Some people want direction. Those people are not going to be in Pyro on farms, man. Those people are going to be at New Babbage, like trying to figure out how to open a door. You know what I mean? Trying to figure out how to get through the tutorial that tells them how to like drink something. And what they're supposed to do. I'm talking like this is all Pyro stuff. This is supposed to be like for advanced players. Like you're not going to be a new player in Pyro at all. I heard they're moving all the drug labs to Pyro, so Pyro to Stanton drug runs will be a thing. Interesting. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with having some missions also. I think my point is that if the stuff in the game is valueless outside of the missions, then that's just a missed opportunity. Right? Like for 3.24, for example, the main focus is on like the new trading missions and manual loading and unloading. If trading is limited to just mission based without much sandbox, then that's not good. It needs to be both. But the sandbox should always be like the priority, in my opinion.
Pyro Stars.
Wait, okay. Anyway, I was looking through this. So they got that, and then they got the like do the repairs, which I was a little confused about repairing the station that you land at. Was that the scrap yards? So why would you want to
way for your journey?
And we've got these large landing pits in all the scrapyards that are unique to the scrapyards, which are the big sort of sunken pits for repairing, rearming, refueling. They kind of bring that kind of unique, okay, this is a scrapyard because I know that there's a landing pit here, and they're the only types of outposts that have those.
Landing complete.
Here, you're able to interact with Chrysler services, refuel your ship, repair your ship, even rearm your ship as well. In addition to servicing your ship, you can also service the scrapyard itself. You've got to use your charge and drain tools to be able
Okay, but why? There's a pipe?
to repair pipes, repair canisters, any faults in machinery, etc.
It's very much about taking things apart and organizing them and shipping them off again.
But unlike the landing zones within the Stanton system, there is no air traffic controller. There is no...
Okay, they don't really elaborate. I don't know what the point of doing little repairs is. But I suppose they'll figure it out in the future. Because it kind of sounds like... So there's like little hand salvage things. Again, I feel like this is going to be like a mission only, when really there should be a sandbox reason to do hand salvaging also, like mining. Hand salvaging and hand mining should be like adjacent, parallel early game professions. And then over here, yeah. All right. That's pretty much it. I'm a little worried because this is a whole video about things you do that are not combat related, and if you boil it down, the three things are pick vegetables, repair fuse boxes, and that's it. No, hand salvage. So there's three things. So I'm a little worried that there's a whole video about stuff you do that's not combat, and when you really boil it down, it's like 3 mini missions in Pyro. I was expecting more, I would say, because I think 80% of the video is kind of about how beautiful the locations that they created are, and less what you actually do in them. Because it's sort of just like right now, and I understand the art team is a different team from the people who are developing what you do in each area. I get that. But it's kind of like, here's 6 different places where you will trade like you currently do. Here's 6 different places where you will buy guns like you currently do, or repair your ship like you currently do. And the only kind of like new stuff is those 3 mini missions, at least as far as I can tell. So I'd like to see more than that. I understand that's not going to be possible all for 4.0, and you got to have the locations, then add the gameplay to it, but I'd like to see some more dynamic sandbox gameplay loops thought about and added to the game also. All right, what is this one about? Is this just about, like, designing ships? I mean, the ships are cool. We'll watch some of it, if not all of it.
It's no secret that Star Citizen is an ambitious game, trying to build a first-person universe of varied experiences across multiple star systems. But at its core will always be the spaceship. And the process of making a spaceship always begins with the concept artist. And we've had no shortage of greats contribute to our legacy of vehicles. From Star Wars superstars like Ryan Church and David Hobbins, to Star Trek luminaries like Jim Martin. From the art departments of Godzilla, Matrix, Blade Runner, and Dune like Emmanuel Shui and George Hull, to the dedicated CIG legends like Paul Jones and Alberto Petronio, and a whole host of folks in between too numerous to mention. The origin of our spacecraft are as numerous as their manufacturers. But there's one person who's participated in the birth of more Star Citizen spacecraft than any other. With more than 20 vehicles to his name so far, he bridges the gaps between manufacturers and has helped to define or refine many of their styles over the years. And in this year's special Ship Showdown showcase, we brought the prolific Gavin Rothery into our office for your chance to meet the man and celebrate just a fraction of his contribution to this project. And because I just think he's neat. Let's go.
I've got toothpaste. I think I got toothpaste flavor. So I think.
Okay. Every time I wake up, there's like a spot on my shirt. You know what I mean? I guess I drool when I sleep. I don't know. But it's all I have to change. I can't change my clothes twice a day just because sleepy me leaves like a spot on my sleeve. Okay? I have to change my shirt when I go to bed because what if it has like allergens on it? So I don't want to change it again when I wake up just because you drool a little bit when you're asleep. Chad, how many of you snore? How many of you know that you are snorers? You are stinky, loud snorers. Where are my snorers in chat? You wear a shirt to bed? Yeah, I wear a shirt. I wear clothes to bed. I know, that's crazy. How would I know? You would know. You don't change into a new shirt in the morning? Why should I have to wear 2 shirts a day? Why do I have to wear a sleepy shirt that's only for wearing for 7 hours and then another shirt for the remaining 16 hours? Why does one shirt have to only get worn for 7 hours? I don't have that much clothes, okay, Kiera B. I don't have 50 shirts in my closet. I don't know if you've noticed, but I have like the same 8 to 10 shirts that I wear over and over again. On all streams. I only sweat when I wear clothes to sleep. Skill issue. Yeah, that is a skill issue. Sweating because you sleep. Listen, some of you guys, I understand, don't have the American luxury of air conditioners. Okay, but over here, we can keep the house at a temperature where we don't have to get naked in order not to sweat. or burn up. You know what I mean? Even in Las Vegas. All right, anyway.
Working as a concept artist is great.
I got distracted.
I like the way I get to spend time with my dogs. I really appreciate that. I've got my dogs around me all day. I get my spaceships, my dogs, you know, and I get to come up to Manchester and hang out with you guys for a bit. It's awesome. You're gonna get it? Use toothpaste flakes.
Is that duct tape?
Oh, I'll do.
That's right.
I'm an artist.
Whenever Kamala Harris saw something unfair...
Oh no, it's a political ad. We've been got, chat. And we can't even skip it. The one that cracks me up every single time is the one where it's like, this is America's border czar. And it's Kamala, it's like, she's just like dancing, you know what I mean? And then you click skip and it makes me laugh every single time. Most of you probably don't see YouTube ads, but anyway, that one comes up like all the time. It's driving me crazy. Dancing in the background. All right. I see that you've got the Argo raft here. When will you make the external tractor beam work on it so I can use it to trade? Look at that terrapin.
So a concept artist is usually a human. That might change. We've seen these AIs. They're coming for us.
They are, Chad, the AIs are coming for us. You know what I mean? Today's the day. Today's the day that the AI wakes up. Canonically. This is the prophecy that's been foretold. I believe it's August 29th. Skynet wakes up today.
Artist is an artist who comes in at the start of a job and works to a technical brief, which is often just writing. There might be a few reference images in there occasionally. We don't really tend to work like that. We'll just get a technical brief and you've got to come there and you've just got to realize things. Usually you're working in somewhat in isolation. There's base touching with like art directors and such, but like a lot of my job is me just working at home in my studio, just kind of getting on with things, having like regular touch-ins. And that sounds weird. Touching base frequently and just pushing the design forward, basically.
Okay.
So,
when can I use my prospector to mine material from a rock that's that big? Let me do it, devs.
Pushing the design forward, basically. So I'm given a brief and a deadline, and I'm expected to metamorphosize that brief into something that can fulfill that brief and look really cool on the clock. There's a few things that make a good concept artist, really. You've got to be able to get along with people and like fit into a team. That's first and foremost, because it's more remote, so it can take longer to get relationships going with people. So that stuff becomes more important.
Ooh, I like the new HUD that we're not going to get today, I guess. Okay, there's a lot of troops there. Give us something to fight over.
A game project particularly, there's lots of things changing in development, so you've got to be able to approach your work with a mindset of like not being too precious about it. You can do a bunch of work on things and it can all be beautiful, and that could just completely change and you have to do something else which is beautiful, and you've got to just be able to wake up every morning and kind of deliver that.